And welcome to the Glacially Musical Podcast. As always, it is beer, metal, swearing. I am Nick Cameron of Glacially Musical, joined by my good friend Keefy Clambake, the man who always is in the kitchen, something. How are we doing today?
I'm good, thanks. Actually, I think now you're too loud.
Crap.
Now that I hear you in your vocal announcement, it's not the volume on your laptop. You need to go into Zoom and
I know. Oh, no.
Nothing.
I'm wrong buttons. I'm sorry. This is professional.
Super professional.
Jesus Christ.
We can start over, or we can just be ourselves.
There we go.
We can just be ourselves. It's fine.
Turn it down a little bit. Now I can't hear you, so talk to me, buddy.
Check, baby. 1, 2. Here comes the rump shaker.
What the hell did I do?
I don't know.
Oh, Jesus.
Technical difficulties. Please stand by.
There we go. I apologize. This is off the rails. Beer, metal, swearing, and stupidity. Fuck this. Beer check. Today I am drinking a Founders Old Dirty Bastard Scotch Ale. Beer, metal, swearing.
Is it really called Old Dirty Bastard Scotch Ale?
Founders Brewing, my friend. Is
it really ODB?
ODB.
Oh shit! No, really. That's very dark for you. You never drink such a dark beer.
I do. It's fall's fallen, and it's time to get off the IPAs a little bit.
Okay, I was gonna
drink the beer of my homeland.
Yeah, I was gonna drink. Which homeland is that?
Scotland.
Okay. I thought St. Louis.
No, this is from Michigan.
I was gonna drink a stout today, unusual for me, but I figured you were gonna pick on me, so I didn't. Yeah, this is what happens. I have an IPA to drink. I have a beer I have never had, and I'm not a huge fan of the juicy tropical citrusy, which it says on the can, but this is Palm Sway from Coronado Brewing, an IPA.
Palm Sweat, lovely.
Palm Sway IPA, Island Style India Pale Ale. And I'm going to pop this from a distance because it seems like every week when I pop it right in front of the mic, we get nothing. So let's see if this happens. 1, 2, pop.
There we go. We got it
this time. So I think what happens is the too close to the sensitive, fine podcast mic fucks it up. And now the pour. Let's see how we do. I'm going to try to pour this on screen.
That's a big can.
It is a big can. I need a big amount of beer tonight.
And I was going to apologize. I have been in Grandpa's cough syrup all day, so yikes. I am out there. I am sick. I woke up with a tickle on Monday. Could not speak on Tuesday. Coughing my lungs up on Thursday.
This is such a bad pour. I'm going to have to wait to sip it. So anyway, just moving right along. Vinyl check for you, my friend.
All right. A couple of weeks ago, saw the Toasters. So I had to pick up a Toasters record.
Dope.
Also bought the wife a shirt. Got it signed by Mr. Bucket. I believe his first name is Tim. Although it looks like he wrote Buckle. We're going to let that go. Pretty snazzy. It's yellow with a little bit of whatever.
I mean, of course, it kind of looks like beer colored.
Yeah. Got that two-tone ska colors and all that kind of business. My wife and I, our very first date, our third date was a Toasters concert. So surprised her when they came to town. Another band that week, however, impressed me, which was a local St. Louis band called Orange Tree. The album was Fixing Stupid. They had been on hiatus for 20 years. And then, of course, the record is orange because they're Orange Tree. If you are familiar with MU330, the lead singer was the singer of MU330 for a time before they were remotely famous. So the Toasters record does not have any insert or anything. We got a nice little lyric sheet and all that business here. So pretty good stuff. I'm happy with it.
Does that not constitute as an insert? I thought those were inserts.
No, the Toasters record has no insert.
Oh, the Toaster record has no insert. What's up with the Urge? Is Steve Ewing just retired? Are they not coming back?
No, Steve Ewing makes hot dogs now.
I know, but I'm saying, like, where's the music
Steve's hot dogs. He does. The Urge is retired. There is the Steve Ewing band. The Urge does like 2 or 3 shows a year. So
okay, it's a semi-retirement then.
They come out for the nostalgia once a year,
I see. I
once
see.
twice a year.
I am legitimately curious. I would love to see them one more time. Does Steve's band do the Urge music or no?
No, it is
No.
not the Urge.
That
I once saw
very sad.
Steve's band. It might have just been Steve actually playing an acoustic at the Tin Can, which no longer exists, sadly to say, on Pabst Blue Ribbon Beer Night, where a PBR was a quarter.
That is dangerous.
Yeah, I went up and I'm like, 2 beers. She's like 50 cents. And I'm like, 10 beers.
That's it, sir.
Here's a
That's
$5.
it.
Keep
Tip
the
your
rest.
bartender with that extra fucking loot.
Same thing happened when I saw Left Lane Cruiser. It was quarter stag night. So it was just, okay, buddy, as I'm getting beer, I'm coming back. I got a $5. You come back and you just like, whatever, guys.
Killer.
Go drive home.
Is that your 2 vinyls?
That's all I got this week.
All right. I have 1 this week. I'm back on my linear bullshit. So I have Caven's new record, Heavy Pendulum, back in order of receipt that I ordered quite a while back. This was my #1 album of the year until just recently when the Machine Head came out. This album's awesome. I highly recommend it for people. It did come with an insert. It came with this fancy Heavy Pendulum. I think it's a lyric book. Yep, it's a illustrated lyric book, which you won't appreciate here on this video if you're watching on the YouTubes, but there's a little portion of it. And it does come on this beautiful vinyl. By the way, when we were discussing my Motorhead vinyl last week, you were correct. The label says Oxblood.
Oh,
it was the correct
Look
color.
at me.
You were right.
Speaking of last week, Keefy pointed out to me today that he felt I was, that is gorgeous. That is a gorgeous record. Nice translucent red. Keefy and I were texting and he said I was unnecessarily harsh on Born Dead. I would like to defend my position. One of the things that we quote frequently and far too much, I think, is the fictionalized version of Lester Bangs. And what did he say in that movie? Honest and unmerciful. I love Body Count. Look right above my right-hand shoulder here. I'm rocking the
yeah, we'll end the Body Count strong because their last 3 records have been terrific and their last 2 have been better than terrific. But no, I just felt like, I don't know. We're allowed to disagree. In fact, I prefer when we disagree because it's lame for the listener if you and I are just jacking off on everything we like. The next series is dangerously going to be close to a Spunk Fest because
it will be.
I mean, I'm not going to make any apologies for that because the greatest band ever is the greatest band ever. But like, it's fine when we disagree.
I am ready to spooge on that camera because it's going to be white and gross.
I just think like. And we'll get into it today. Again, this record has highs that are very high and very bad bottoms, right? And we'll talk about it in a few minutes. But
completely agree.
We can disagree. I just think like you were piling on Hey Joe too much. I listened back to it. I was like, I don't hear a defense in your position. You just hate it. Like you're allowed to just hate things also. But you just hate it. I was like, that's not a good answer. And that was your like, I just hate it.
That's fair. Completely fair. One, I thought it was lazy that it was put on the record. The record was already a bit longer than it needed to be, so it did not need to be there. 2, I felt Ice's vocals were very weak. I will pump Ice-T's tires all day long when he is deserving of it. Ice-T is a big boy. He is a strong boy. He is a successful boy. He can take my criticism, theoretically. We'll get into that on track 1. However, I thought Hey Joe was unnecessary, and I thought it was a poor performance. I thought that was Ice-T's worst vocal performance for Body Count. Then I heard this week's record.
Yo, bada bing. I was gonna just say like I think the performance of the vocals was fine. I thought the lyrics were kind of cheaped out on the last record. They're better on this record relatively.
I was just talking about Hey Joe.
Oh, I meant the whole record. Like I think on the whole. So this just to prove that I can be objective also about somebody I love and appreciate. None of this era of like spoiler alert. None of this era of Body Count is their best work. It's all coming.
Their best work. We're not going to do it later.
Actually. We're not getting to those records except maybe a touch on them at the end. We already touched on them at the beginning, but I'm just going to say like I actually think for whatever reason the lyrics were left short shrifted on the last record and his vocals were fine, but I
would completely agree with that.
Well,
I think the last except Hey Joe, I think the last album was just largely unfocused and unfinished. The seeds were there, it just didn't get to grow. Except for Hey Joe, I think his vocals did not match the quality of the music on that one, and that is my biggest complaint there. So that's all. But let's see. Any news we want to talk about? Merciful Fate. It has announced their tour, as everybody knows.
As you predicted,
The Queen. The Queen has died.
You want to? I mean, like, I have no stake in that game. The only royal I
That's
ever
all I need
liked.
to say.
The only royal I ever liked was Diana, but to my many British friends somehow grieving about this wealthy, powerful, not powerful family. I'm sorry if you're feeling sad today. I know she was basically, when it's something is like a fixture in your life, oh, she was always there. So like I get it, but like historically, monarchies, royals, not my favorite.
Look, I'm just saying that there are English people that listen to this.
Yes, for sure.
So I am not going to go into a giant eulogy of Queen Elizabeth II. No. She has been a constant in my life. Always heard about her. Now we have King Charles, the whatever. Who cares? Enjoy it. Coronation Day is coming.
Waited his whole life for this.
I know, right?
Your mom's gone, but now you're the king. So like,
I've always actually wondered about that.
Joy, sorrow.
How do you deal with that? You're like, oh, like that, like the song in Lion King. I just can't wait to be king. Oh, my dad's dead though. I love that dude, but he's I don't know.
Right, Black Panther. My father is dead, and I'm to be crowned king. Shit, no good.
Yeah. Brought back. I brought back the wall. The wall is a permanent fixture again now. That
don't tear down the wall. Build up this wall.
Mm-hmm.
He's got it handy.
Oh, I can't reach it.
It's there somewhere.
It's behind my butt. It's behind, all three of them are behind my butt. Wait a minute. Wait. Whoop.
There we go. As it should be for Nick's house. Someday my house will look like that.
I have a lot of copies of The Wall.
You do?
I have 2 by Roger, 2 by Floyd, and then 1 by just rando dudes.
That's one of the best ones.
It's amazing, truly amazing.
Yeah, we'll skip the Pink Floyd news for the week. Although we do have the Animals is impending receipt of the new version of Animals, which I'm beyond excited for. It's the only excitement in my life right now, except for this pod.
I am thrilled to hear Animals 2018. This is very much like the Monty Python pre-Monty Python show. It last the 1948 show, which came out in 1967. As a joke, so it's the exact same thing, except Roger is the jerk.
I'm gonna just so everybody knows, and this is one case where Roger is legitimately a jerk. Other cases that people think he's being a jerk, I think he's not so bad. But I don't want to court any more controversy than we already have, and we're going to with this album, and we already did with Cop Killer. But I will say this: I am going to listen to that record the first time through while reading those mother fudging liner notes because I want to know. What was up?
Okay. Remember the spunking? Basically, those liner notes, and I got through about 3 paragraphs of the 78 paragraphs, which is completely unnecessary.
Oh, super.
And it's just Roger spunking on his own self,
and it doesn't make sense because honestly, the music speaks for itself.
Yes, it does.
It's kind of interesting. Like maybe a discussion we'll have for that series. Spoiler is maybe a discussion that's worth having is the minimalism of Animals.
Is there
versus the maximalism of The Wall, but that's a topic for another time.
Okay,
see it out loud in a podcast form.
Keefy has dropped the ball, so I'm going to pick it up and run with it a little bit.
Nobody has. We talked about doing a Floyd series for a long time.
No, I know you dropped it like it's hot, so I'm going to finish it up. Our next major series is actually going to be a series on Animals, as there will be minimum of 2 versions of Animals. Along with the tour, we're going to do a 3-week series on Animals, the album, Animals 2018, and Animals, the Montreal show that inspired The Wall. Because
I think that's very good. That's a really good idea.
Let's just take Roger and all of his, I'm singing a fucking song here. So that is what's coming up next.
People saw more Roger than they ever wanted to in that tour. That last date in Toronto, Montreal. Which one?
Montreal.
Sorry, Montreal steak
No
seasoning.
worries.
That Roger sauce and steak seasoning. Hey-o. So yeah, I don't have much else to say. Shirt check time. Do we skip the shirt check?
Sure. I got my
Pushead?
Metallica something Harvester. Which one is this? No, Injustice for All. I can't remember. I mean, they do a shirt for every song now, so I can't keep up.
It kind of looks like the Pope. I don't know. I see a little bandage on top of the skelly.
It looks like one of the girls from The Shining after decomposition.
Oh, maybe.
But apparently, this is somehow Injustice for All.
Yeah, of course. Pushead, though. I mean, Pushead for everything. That was one of the best collabs. The fact that they still work with that dude today is incredible. They just did a skate deck with his work from Year in the Life of Metallica with Love Skate Mag. And yeah, man, Pushead all day. Pushead everything. My favorite Metallica shirt ever is a Reload shirt that Pushead did. It's the best thing about the Reload tour is that shirt. And I still have it somewhere. It's a piece of...
I did not buy a Reload shirt. I bought a Load tour shirt, which was, I believe, on the Load again. And if memory serves, Reload was poor touring me. I could have that.
Poor retouring me.
Oh,
that was the second one. Funny story, just a quick anecdote. I was less than 10 feet away from Lars Ulrich this week in San Francisco. His sons opened for the Melvins, Taipei Houston. Melvins kicked off their tour in San Francisco. It was amazing. And We Are the Asteroid is a band you should check out. I was summarily blown away by them. But Taipei Houston is Lars's two sons in a two-piece band. Sort of less metal and more alternative rock. Noisy, heavy alternative rock.
I dig those two-piece bands.
They're all, it's like if Black Cobra was Jane's Addiction. That's what I compared them to. And it's not bad. They're young. I mean, they're, judged slowly. They're young adults. They're just forming. They just started this in the last couple of years. Bass and drums, no guitar. Bass with a lot of effects. And they pulled the Nomads. They did. And it's quite good. And they're well received, not just because it was a hometown gig. And then We Are the Asteroid was the middle band, very Melvinsy. And then Melvins doing a big set, deep cuts, hour and a half, all good stuff. It was a
hour and a half in a club is a good number.
Yeah, hour and a half, and it's a big club, biggish, smallish, big club. And like I said, Lars and his wife were a few feet away from me. When his sons came over after the show to check in, he hugged them and he like fell into their midriff because he's this tall and they're this tall. For people listening on the podcast, I just made a length difference with my hands. But anyhow, that's my story. My shirt checks are your shirt checks in Metallica. I have another Meth Syndicate shirt. This looks like the Guns N' Roses logo, but it says Seal, Kiss from a Rose, because I'm funny and life is a joke and death is the punchline, as Amigo the Devil likes to say.
I just burped up a booger.
Yikes.
Ew.
That's gross.
Yikes.
I don't know.
Sorry.
I don't know if I don't like this beer or it's just that I really just don't like juicy IPAs and I should stop buying them.
Yeah, I it's like hazy IPAs, right? All of the IPAs are going hazy, so I'm trying to like convert myself, and it's rough. It's just not. And the tropical juicy hazy is right out. It just tastes like a rotten orange.
Kind of. An orange, a lemon you left in the fridge too long that you then tried to squeeze into your tea.
With a lot of hops.
It just it's not a bad beer. It's not a bad beer. I'm just thinking my own taste is pivoting away from this style. And so it's not a bad beer at all. And I like the brand and like it's smooth going down. This would be good with a meal. I'm going to have dinner after this. And so might work with the dinner for the second can. But like, it's just not my vibe. I think that's what it is. How about you?
I was going to say the Dirty Bastard Scotch style ale, 8.5% ABV, burns going down, and it puts a fire in your kilt.
Fair enough.
And being of Scottish descent, I
still wondering if I could. I'd like to pull off a kilt. I don't know if I can do it though. I'd want to try.
You know what? I'm not going there. Let's move forward before I start talking way too much about my crotch, which nobody wants to hear. Again, Grandpa's cough syrup. I'm sorry.
Can end up like Heroin Bob. Bob never did drugs in his life, died of a drug overdose. Be careful with what you take.
What?
And this beer, never saw SLC Punk? I'm sad for you.
Never saw what now?
SLC Punk?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's coming off of HBO Max very soon. You should go see it.
I don't have HBO Max.
Okay. So anyway, without further ado, beer check, vinyl check, shirt check, news check. Time for the album. The last, mercifully last Body Count early era album. A lot of stuff going on.
I'm gonna say that we really screwed the pooch on this series because
the last three,
right?
But I wanted to do Body. I want to do the first record, which is still
I know you wanted to do the first record, important. And you have to go in order. You can't skip.
I'm a Virgo, and I can't get out of.
No, it's fine. You do you, and I will follow. There's a gnat.
I don't think it. I mean, like, I don't think these records. There are worse records we've listened to together. Like, this is the worst shit I've ever heard. And like, when they're on, they're on. And I think what happens is, I will say this: one of the reasons, again, I said it at the top of the episode, and then it will, like, again, to me, these things all factor. So, like, if you go to produce the record yourself and you're not good at this, you're not good at self-editing, you let everything pass. So I'm not knocking Ice and Ernie C, but like, if you produce your own record and no one is there to check on you and tell you, yo, this isn't good enough, you just put it out and you think it's good enough.
That is a great point. Name two artists that are good at self-editing and self-production.
Paige Hamilton of Helmet and, Michael Ackerfeld of Opeth.
Do you know who we didn't mention?
Who did we mention?
And we did not mention any of our absolute favorite bands.
No, probably none of them. And I will say this, I think probably individually, David Gilmour and Roger Waters have proven to be able to produce their own albums. I don't think they could have produced a Pink Floyd album alone because the band would not have.
Roger's best record was the one not produced by him. So Roger has not proven. He's proven that he can make a passable record, but he cannot make a great record.
And you don't like David, so that's
that is not true.
You don't like David. He's the Ace Frehley of Pink Floyd. I'm gonna kill you for that. I never get over it. I'm never gonna let that one go.
What's this?
Yeah, I know you have the albums. I appreciate your patronage, but like, respect the man, respect the work, respect the gift. Yeah, that's fine. I know you got them all. You don't have to take them out. It's not a flex. The listeners of the podcast can't appreciate this.
That's fair. No, I love David. I just think that
you got to be able to self-edit. Metallica can't self-edit, clearly.
Oh, hell no.
Other bands. So for the new record, so like if Born Dead suffered from a lot of problems, lyrically, performance, some of the songs.
I wouldn't say performance. That is the one area it didn't fail on for me.
Production. But so on this record, at least, so a few more years pass by. Ice is making more movies. Ice is doing a solo record. And then the band hits a lot of turmoil. Okay. So like, let's not forget about the fact that one of the members dies making the record. They just found him dead in his apartment of leukemia.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what the story is behind that. If he didn't know he had it, or he did know and he didn't say, or was getting treatment. We'll never know until I get to talk to Ice one day again and ask him. I had like 30 seconds with him when I met him last, and I didn't have time to ask questions. I was just like thankful. But Beatmaster V dies in the middle of making the record. There's a lot of stuff going on with the band into inner and outer during this time. But Howard Benson is on to produce. So like, those that don't know who Howard Benson is, most of your favorite metal albums and most of your favorite hardcore and metal albums were produced by Howard Benson in the 90s and the early aughts. And now he's doing a lot of pop stuff. So now he did like Miley Cyrus and Demi Lovato and, so now he's got like loot, but he had produced hundreds of hardcore metal albums before this, and like Living Color and like Biohazard, like a lot of good stuff, right? He's well respected. So he comes in and he's producing this record, and they have to bring in a backup drummer at some point because this guy who wrote the record can't record it because he passed during making it, played on some of it. Typical, a lot of similar Ice themes. Again, violence, racism, pimping, misogyny. All his favorite topics are here. Not to good levels. Front album cover just triple downs on everything with the BC as done by the Bloods and Crips. Hand signals could be considered a move of unity, could be considered derisive, could be considered inflammatory, depending on who your point of view. Like, why would this be allowed? Also, kind of cool that he did it. Also, like, if you're local and this has deep meaning to you, you might be enraged by this. But Ice-T is probably like the one guy who's a popular, pop culture icon who could get away with angering the underground and not fearing a reprisal. I think officially he was a Crip and not a Blood, but maybe he never was any of them. I don't know. And that's
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I think this is, and then of course this happened. You got to like imagine it. So like, Cop Killer happens in the wake of Rodney King and a bunch of other things. And Born Dead is just more, even though it's not as lyrically deep, it is more of a, a missive on racist history and like sort of inborn institutionalized racism. And then so Violent Demise, The Last Days, is definitely absolutely colored by the O.J. Simpson trial and verdict, right? The entirety of it. This is made in the year following the chase, the arrest, and the trial, and probably not the civil trial yet. But like, I hear you sighing. I don't necessarily want to talk a lot about O.J. Simpson or this thing, but you can't run away from it. There's a whole song about it.
I will say simply this, and we have talked about, songs about horrific things. We have talked about, motivations and consternations and all the other Asians that you can think of. But this felt sympathetic on the wrong side. This album, and I had never heard this album before today. And there were a lot of things on this record coming out of Ice, and the best way I can describe it is he sounded like a wounded animal, lashing out, trying to hurt everyone. And if we get into the track by track, the first track is an interview where somebody says Born Dead wasn't very good. And it ends with him murdering the interviewer for saying that. And I'm like, wow, I thought you were hard. I thought you were tough, where you could take a little criticism justified or no. I mean, Ice-T before the first Body Count record, before the second Body Count record, is a legitimate legend in the game, a major movie star, and on his way to be a major television star. And you can't take some dudes going, this album kind of blows.
You get it as a joke, right? You get that whole skit is every skit on here is a joke. You get on all his records is a joke. You get that, right? Like humor.
No, I don't. I didn't get that this time.
Okay. Well, you're being a little too sensitive. I would also say you made
You
made a really good point about the OJ song, which is I Used to Love Her, and I have a really good counter to that when we get to it. Right. I'm going to say at first I thought I agreed with you, and then I can tell you how it's subtle. It should have been more pronounced, but actually I think he's not. We'll get to it.
Want to hear that. Let's roll to the track by track. Let's get that.
All right.
Because I want to I want this shit. What's the word? I'm losing my perspicacity.
Using too many big words. I'm sorry, I don't understand.
Let's go. Okay.
Yeah, let's go. Interview starts it off. You don't like it. I think it's funny. I'm a journalist and I think it's funny. I think he's making jokes. I think there's a little more humor in this one than the last one. I think there was
no humor in the last one.
None. And I think there's a little more self-awareness and humor. And I think you got to give him a little more credit than you have been. But okay, fine.
Entirely possible.
You're also a journalist. And as a journalist, I should be offended that he would kill a journalist for having something cross to say. I think it's more of a case of like that's the gangster answer to everything, pow, not not like let's discuss it. No.
All right, fair.
And
fair,
also,
fair.
let's just be real. No labels, publicists, or bands want to hear a bad review ever. They want to get their ass kissed. They want to hear that you think they're brilliant geniuses who fart snowflakes and unicorn kisses, and
I fart snowflakes.
and they don't want to know that you didn't like something they did. So if he's reacting, his whole career has been on the defensive, and it's had to, except the acting career, and it's had to be, and maybe even the acting career. He's been in some terrible movies, but okay. The first actual track is My Way featuring Raw Breed. It's got great riffs. It's not the strongest song ever, but it's a pretty good first heavy metal punk heavy track on the album to me. I liked it.
After hearing Born Dead was the last thing I heard by this band, this track was music to my ears. It was Mana from Heaven. It was angry. It was punk. It was crossover. It was slinky. It was of the time. It was for the time, which makes it dated, but it was still a good track. I loved this one.
Right. And just to again, this is 1997, and it sort of not adhering to any of the post grunge of the time. This is a straight up punk and metal record and rap record. It's not trying to be anything else.
I would argue there is a little bit of new metal.
Well, I mean, like new metal is copying Ice-T. Like that's my point.
Okay, that's fair.
I think like new metal, the rock rap influence that Ice-T had all along influences Rage Against the Machine, influences Biohazard, influences Korn, influences Faith No More. I think that's undeniable. So
we have now gotten into the very serious meta enigma wrapped inside a riddle, which is awesome. But you know what's not awesome? Stripper intro.
Yeah, this is bad. So stripper intro and strippers tracks 3 and 4. This is I get it. Again, there's a lot of hip hop culture where women are disposable things for our enjoyment. Strippers in particular are, we just did the whole Motley Crue run where it's like they have songs about strippers. They alternately talk about treating them bad and loving them. I don't think there's any love on here. I think, again, misogyny, sexuality, sexism. These are all things that are used by Ice historically in all his music. He was celebrated for it. He was also derided for it. This is bad. This is kind of like this is like the incel take on strippers. Like, you're here for my enjoyment, but also like, no, what I really wanted was like a girlfriend, not a stripper. So it's like, then you're in the wrong place. You didn't go to the strip club looking for a girlfriend for unconditional love and attention on your parts. You pay a stripper. It's sex work. It's fine work. There's no problem with that. No problem with strippers. But like, I just don't understand the whole tact of the song. But then again, very in line with everything else in hip hop and rock and how women are treated. Not good.
I'm gonna say this and only this about this song. It has the line, "Don't make me rape you."
Horrible. Yeah, terrible. And it's very subtle, right? It's like in there. It's just plugged in there.
I would not call it subtle. I thought it was pretty forward.
It's pretty terrible. It's pretty terrible. And many sex workers are abused and other things and, not protected. So very bad. Very bad. Bad. Brings the whole album down, takes me right out of the awesomeness of My Way, ruined by this whole first thing.
Nailed it.
Trying to move forward. Violent Demise, the quasi semi-title track next to the last track, right? You would say the Violent Demise and Last Days, or maybe companion songs. Yeah. Violent Demise is decent, right? It's not the greatest, most original thing I have ever heard, but it's solid. It's got the right length. It's under 4 minutes, which is good to me. The sweet spot for this music. And there's a little more. Did I skip one? I skipped Truth or Dead, didn't I? I did. Truth or Death is next and is not a great track. Then Violent Demise.
The thing about the next 2 songs is I was very much like removed. As we discussed in the first episode of this series, Body Count is grindhouse.
That's his word for it.
And that's a great way of describing later records where I don't have to suspend disbelief. It's disbelief. It's a movie. It's whatever. It's fine. But some of the stuff on this record cuts way too close to the bone. And Stripper intro and Stripper were there, and it pushed me back. It repulsed me. And I think I'm been very clear about how I feel about dealing with fictionalized sexual assault. And there's a lot of that on this record, which really takes me out of it.
And yet you love Gore, who also does a lot of fictionalized sexual assault, including on stage.
But Gore is Gore. It's not real.
Why is it okay for monsters in costumes and not okay for the black guy? I mean, it's not about racism, but I'm just saying.
No,
like,
it's because Gore doesn't seem real. They're aliens from nowhere.
Death metal is not real, but sings about dismembering women in the most horrific ways.
I don't listen.
Rap does the same thing. So, like, I'm with
I
you.
know.
I'm with you. The songs are deplorable. The 2 tracks are awful, and they don't add anything. When he's a very smart, articulate, cool guy, I understand when he talks about pimping, because he was a pimp. I understand the dynamic between like a rich guy who's sexually frustrated and a stripper. And I understand about this mentality that, you know, the patriarchy has about women sex workers. All of that is legit. And he can do better because he's talented and articulate and smart. He can do better. He just didn't. And
absolutely correct.
Also took me out of the album.
What I am hoping for is that this is like Angel of Death. And I think that is the song we use as our touchstone more than anything else in the world of metal, because we all know Jeff Hanneman is not saying Joseph Mengele is fucking great. He's just singing a song, giving his book report. Here's his term paper. This is what he did. And you know what? Maybe the problem is when Ice did it, it was too convincing. You know, maybe.
I've also seen him in person with his wife and daughter. Doesn't seem like the same guy. Like, just doesn't seem like the same guy. I don't know.
I want to believe that's what I want to believe. I want to believe that he is looking at these kinds of people negatively. But man, it is so fucking convincing.
Yeah.
Gives, and that's why Gwar doesn't bother me. Because Gwar is so ridiculous that I can't take it seriously. And when you talk about, you know, the deplorable death metal shit, to the best of my knowledge, and I can't understand most of these dudes, to the best of my knowledge, I don't listen to that. Don't quote me because I'm probably wrong.
I mean, again, George Corpse Grinder Fisher is one of the sweetest people I have ever met. Frank the Tank from Suffocation, nice, normal guy otherwise when he's not on stage. And it goes on and on. But I'm with you. I understand there's a comedy aspect. I think they were going for comedy and they missed completely because there's nothing funny about rape at all. I'm not defending him. I'm not defending these tracks. I'm not defending any of the tracks we've taught. Actually, if you go back and listen to these other 2 episodes, when we've discussed these tracks, you hear that I'm down on them, right? Like, I'm not promoting or praising them. I praised Hey Joe because I think that was really great, but like you didn't. But like,
no, absolutely correct.
These songs are not standing him for these songs. They're bad and awful and terrible. Completely.
I do not think for a second you're like going, oh man, this stripper song is fucking amazing.
I'm not gonna. No, terrible, horrible. And I've known strippers, by the way, and sex workers, and
so
they're all wonderful.
I mean, I used to when I worked at Vitamin World. I was a manager for like 3 years. They would come in to buy their diet pills from me. Lovely people. Always paid in ones.
Diet pills, Mama's little helper.
Which was great because I always needed ones. True story.
Ones with traces of cocaine.
I didn't lick them.
I hope not.
That would be weird.
They were put on places on their bodies that needed.
Moving on.
A wash. So Truth or Death is not good.
No.
Violent Demise is better and not bad. Pretty decent.
Yeah. The thing about this album is there are a lot of great riffs and a lot of very terrifying lyrics from Ice.
Well, that's what he's supposed to be doing. I mean, like, okay.
But when it moves forward later on, like, 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road from this album, It's
Yeah,
a much
this
better
album is
way.
25 years old this
Yeah.
year.
You know, when Manslaughter comes out, Manslaughter is obviously a satire. And that's why Manslaughter works.
Okay. So now we get into the interesting. This is a very long album, but there's a lot of segues and interludes and stuff. But I will say these next couple of tracks, they're not necessarily great, but they're interesting. So I wanted to talk for a second about Bring It to Pain. Bring It to Pain is also not a great track. He's going for an interesting approach where he does like a spoken word thing.
Drops the rape word again.
Rape word again, terrible, unacceptable, bad. I like the song. I wish it was not about this. I like he approached the song in a cool, different way than he has ever approached anything. I just wish it wasn't. It's more of a song about sexual dominance. It's not about.
I know what it is, but when you drop that phrase,
I agree.
It's a slap in my face.
I understand.
And I don't mean that like you're insulting me or disrespecting me, but it's just like all of a sudden, you know, it takes me out. A good metal song is frankly deplorable. I mean, I'm not going to say it isn't.
I mean, you know how's your feeling on most of Wasp's catalog? You never hear me talk about them, right? You know why? Not a fan. Right?
I've never listened to Wasp, and I've
never listened to them. I'm really surprised at this because, like, I figured you at least listen to them because, like,
no, and
you must know the hits. Like, you don't know.
No,
the hits.
I really don't. And
all right. I'm not a fan of Blackie. I think his lyric for a guy who's supposedly some reformed born again Christian, the majority of his lyrics historically are not good.
Yeah, Donald Trump was a born again Christian too. So.
Yeah, well, supposedly.
And, yeah,
Jewish once. He was everything once. Anyway,
yeah, I know, right.
So Bring It to Pain, I said my piece, not good. Novel approach musically, would like to see it done again in a different form.
This song could have been great, and that's kind of how I feel about this record.
Whole record. Yeah, that's fair.
Could have been great. The pieces are there, and then all of a sudden, and I think, if I'm being honest, I feel like this is a reaction to Cop Killer. Because, I can't say cop killer, but I can say rape, and you don't bat a fucking eye.
Maybe. That says a lot about our culture, especially
maybe
in the 90s.
Maybe there's a statement there. My God, I want to find whatever redeeming quality I can.
Yeah, there's some coming. There's some
because
coming.
This album grossed me out.
Yeah, that's fair.
And that's rough.
Wasn't my intention.
No, and I didn't know what was. I'm listening to it. And then I'm like,
yeah.
And that's me on this album.
So here's a fun. So the next thing's a little tiny music business interlude, which again, based on all the things we discussed, he has every right to be angry with the music industry, as does everybody. Again, music business, not music friendship. Copyright Keefy 2020. Then I Used to Love Her. Again, you said a really brilliant thing. So I Used to Love Her is about the O.J. Simpson case and trial. Mm-hmm. You said a really brilliant thing a few minutes ago.
Oh, thank you.
Credit when credit is due. You were like, it seemed like he's standing it, and it's supposed to. And then there's an interlude 3/4 of the way through the song where he goes, wait a minute. Not guilty. Got a bloody glove. Dude is all bloody. Got the Broncos bloody. Evidence, DNA, call up Robert, call up Shapiro, call up Johnny Cochran. Guy's guilty. Like, he literally says he's guilty in the song after he runs down all the evidence in 10 seconds. So, which is a very interesting take, considering, again, like, I don't think people today appreciate, like, if Carson Daly was accused of double murder or Jerry Seinfeld was accused of double murder homicide, you can't fathom how popular and humongous a personality. O.J. Simpson was on everybody's TV 5 months a year, every Sunday doing football.
And he was
beloved. He was a beloved comedy movie star. He was one of the best paid endorsed athletes or former athletes of all time still.
Yeah.
To this day, including Jordan. He's on the level of a Jordan before Jordan.
I remember when it came out that he was indicted, and it was like, holy shit.
Yeah, Hertz Rent-A-Car. His deal with Hertz was personally negotiated by the former CEO of the company at the time that he was aligned with them. So, like, for him, and again, like, whatever you feel about OJ, I think he's a clown, and like, nobody has thumbed their nose at the justice system better or worse than him, depending on your point of view. I think the song firmly is in two camps. In the words of Chris Rock, I'm not saying he should have killed her, but I understand, which is a bad take and is a funny bit for comedy. I'm not making a joke about two people getting murdered and decapitated horribly. I'm going to float a really fun conspiracy theory in a second also. That is actually fun. I think on one hand, he's saying like the rage of being like your ex moving on with their life and abandoning you. I get that. On the other side, he definitely called him guilty by the end of the song. So he's like, this is what happens, and this is what it drives a person to. I don't think he's saying he's not OJ is innocent and this is bullshit. He's saying, look at what happened. Understand this guy's feelings. He shouldn't have did what he did, but his feelings are not inappropriate. Just you don't act on them. That's what a normal person does. You get mad and then you move on. Let them live their life. Move on. He was rich. He had other women. He had other women while he was with Nicole. You know, he started seeing Nicole while he was married to his first wife. He's crazy. And then again, the whole justice system, and literally you with an appreciation of the law, you have to agree the hypocrisy of the American legal system, where they have all the evidence and the corrupt cops of LA still screwed up the case because they had all the evidence they needed, and it wasn't enough to just have all the evidence and almost a confession and everything but a confession, all the circumstantial evidence they needed to place him in the crime.
Look, I could spend the next 35 minutes telling you about cases where they had all the evidence and they fucked up.
We're gonna whip through this after this, because the rest of the album's not as deep or as interesting as this song.
Or good.
But I'm gonna say, like, I Used to Love Her is also a good track. And I do believe by the end of the track, he is calling OJ guilty and mocking the proceedings and mocking the police for not being able to get a conviction because they're so hapless and racist. I think that's his point of this song.
Okay, you know what? I appreciate that point of view because I need it. And look, I don't think Ice is a misogynist. I don't think Ice would, and I needed the two earlier songs, which I mentioned, and I'm not going to say out loud, you know why, took me out of took me out of the story. And then this song comes up and it punches me in the gut again. And I appreciate that perspective, because I don't think for a second that anybody believes OJ is innocent. And I surely did not want to hear OJ being treated as a sympathetic figure by someone whom I genuinely respect. So thank you.
And Juice is a clown, and let's just call OJ is a clown, and he has clowned himself multiple times and a whole bunch of other things. But I just think it's super. And if you look at it in that guise, it's very much in line with Cop Killer and a lot of Born Dead, because again, it's these recurring themes of you can have all the evidence, but your racism and hatred is going to be your folly anyway. I'm not promoting the murder. I'm not promoting OJ. Fuck OJ.
No,
I don't think, and I think again, Ice-T basically says he's guilty. Fun theory time for 10 seconds. I always thought that OJ didn't commit the murder. His son did. His son from his first marriage. He cheated on his mother with Nicole. His son did the murder, and OJ and AC covered it up. And I think the same thing with OJ's break-in and kidnapping in 2007. He took the blame for his dumb thug friends because he could take a fall and go to jail because he's rich and they couldn't. This is this guy's pattern. He's done it before. He'll do it again probably in his lifetime. I think his son actually murdered Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. Just my thoughts. We can discuss it another time.
Moving on. Let's finish.
And also a lost opportunity to sample Guns N' Roses on I Used to Love Her with that title.
Completely agree.
Root of All Evil, not a lot of strong feelings, not a great song.
It's,
it's about money.
Yeah, it's about money and how you don't really need it. Okay, great. Get that.
Dead Man Walking, better. So I think it's a lot of up downs on this record, really low lows.
I'm just going to point out in that song, narratively speaking, he said 5 consecutive life sentences, and now all of a sudden it's a death sentence. But poor narrative. But you know what? We'll call it an anti-3 strikes law, which as Boots Riley put it, 3 strikes is the new lynching.
There it is. Interview end. Say no more. Back to the beginning. Again, not as funny the second time or at all. You're fucking with BC is the 13th track. Another body count, loves body count song. That's what they're good at.
I mean, somebody's got to love body count. If you're in body count and you don't love body count, should you be in body count?
Yeah, probably not. I feel like body count, they all need the BC, if there is a BC logo tattooed on them.
There's not, but like they should get one.
You get a brand. Ernie's intro is a hype track for Ernie C. Okay. And Dr. K follows Ernie's intro with the incredible riffs. Dr. K is a good song. It's about Dr. Kevorkian, very topical for 25 years ago, not so much today. I think we are moving into a society where eventually we will be able to choose our own self-euthanasia and end our own life. Good song, good strong song toward the end of the album. Title track Last Days Too Long, but again, another spoken wordy, sing-songy kind of thing, and a very elongated, feels like a final, like Ice-T tends to do these, except for a Cop Killer, he tends to do these very long, drawn out tracks at the end, like a narrative story.
Yeah,
not bad, a little too long, but not bad.
Every body count record so far has been just too long. I mean, not like...
Well, this is also a 90s and 80s thing to make these very long CD length albums. You got 90 minutes, you got 80 minutes, you better fill it up. This is Metallica's fault.
This one is about 52 minutes, I believe, which is...
it could have been a 35-minute record, really.
Could have been.
Even with the interludes.
Yeah, take out the interludes and you take out the 3 tracks and you're down to 35 minutes. And I get it. He comes from a world with all the interludes, and Born Dead was the same way, except Born Dead was for me, because of Born Dead's half-baked execution, it was painful.
I get it. I don't know if I feel like this record is better sounding, but a worse record than Born Dead. It's a better sounding record, and the riffs are better, and it's better produced, clearly. And then again, those, I just feel like maybe it's weird because I wish I could take the lyrics, the good lyrics off this record and put them onto the last record. Maybe these 2 records should have been one record, but obviously you can't make, they were written and recorded 4 years apart, basically.
Yeah. There was a lot of, every body count record so far has been uneven.
And I'll say that another thing is what's funny is, except for Last Days and a few other things, for an album with the Blood and the Crips on the front cover, it's not a very gangish record. It's other stuff he's interested in. It's other things. It's less thug life and more rich guy life, and socially conscious life, which I like the socially conscious stuff. I'll say it again. That's the thing that attracts me to Ice and Body Count, is that he's also socially conscious.
The best way I can describe this is, this one, just like the last one, is a record that happened, and it's a record that could have been a lot better than it ended up being. And that's, although I think Born Dead, given 6 more months of work, is their best record, because musically speaking, that album is a fucking banger. But Ice was burnt out because he had too much shit going on. He couldn't finish.
I think that's the curse of any creative person that has a lot of endeavors. It's hard for him. I mean, he put out this year alone, he's in the new season of SVU. He has 2 books on the market, and he's opening cannabis shops or something.
There you go.
That's he's guys working on a new Body Count album that is apparently nearly done. So the guy is always working.
A lot of work. A lot of stretch, and when you stretch thin. And sometimes it's the thing about Body Count is, it wasn't like he needed Body Count to be an unqualified success. So, but he was acting like he did, right. Maybe that was for Ernie C, maybe that was for Moose Man or Beatmaster V, or, D-Rock the Executioner, to make them money. But a little more time
Yeah. Some
It's
things
a lot like
there's a reason why bands used to spend 4 or 5 months or a year in the studio making an
right.
album.
It's a lot like the soup
Um,
I made today. If I cooked it a little bit longer, those potatoes would have been better.
I get it. I'll just wrap it up unless there's anything else you want to add to this record. I doubt there is, but I will
No,
say,
I'm good.
rest in peace to D-Rock, who got killed in a drive-by a few years after this. Ice doesn't make another body count record for 7 years until Murder for more than 7 years, actually almost 10 years, 9 years,
Yeah.
Murder for Hire. So let's say he writes it in 8 and they put it out in year 9 after this release. So this release, generally positive reviews apparently for Last Days. Then Murder for Hire, I didn't really hit with me. I was listening to a lot of new wave of American heavy metal back then, Lamb of God, Killswitch Engage, Unearth, and a lot of European metal, In Flames, Soilwork, Dark Tranquility, not listening to, just this kind of record. Miss Me in 2006. And then another gap of 8 years. So it's 7 years to start working on a new record for whatever, again, TV star, movie star, some rap records in between. And then I will just shout out Manslaughter, Bloodlust, and Carnivore are leagues above these 3 records we
Oh
just
my
spent a lot of time
God.
working.
Manslaughter
By itself, which was like respected and loved, but didn't like get no awards or anything.
career making record. If
Like
he hadn't already had
really,
a career.
like all the good things that are ever good about Body Count, all into one record with better songs. And
Except for 99 Problems. We didn't need that.
But again, like I keep trying to tell you that 99
I
Problems
know. Porno,
is Ice's
porno.
song. No, it's Ice's song. It's Ice's idea. Ice invented
No, I'm not
the
complaining about
idea
the
of
cover.
the
I'm just
99
complaining about
Problems,
the
but a bitch
song.
ain't one is a thing that, because Jay-Z steals everything and he's got almost no originality except whatever Kanye did for him. Sorry, not sorry. Guy's lame. Lame as fuck. I don't know.
No. It's
Good
fine.
business guy. Jay-Z sucks. And so, yeah, I think 99 Problems is Ice taking his own track back, his own legacy back. I like the covers. I like when Body Count does covers. It's actually one of the smartest, best things they ever did. Live, they do Angel of Death every show, and it's fucking awesome.
Great job on Institutionalized on that record.
Institutionalized, even with the subtle racism. But I get it. Sometimes this stuff is used for comedy, other times it's derisive. Manslaughter, Bloodlust, and Carnivore. Bloodlust and Carnivore both won Grammy Awards and were top 10 albums of the year from like Decibel. So people love these records. My last public thing before the pandemic was hanging out with Ice-T at the Body Count listening party for Carnivore. And he's working on another one. There's no reason to believe it won't be, in the same level. So like at least in this, there's certainly no end to his career, but it's 60-something Ice-T is a different guy than 30-something Ice-T that made Cop Killer. I still think Cop Killer deserves a reissue with Cop Killer on it. Sorry for everybody's feelings. I'm not really that sorry for your feelings. It's an important record. These last 3 records are all 8s, 9s, 10. Maybe not a 10, but like 8s and 9s for sure to me. And like to me, the original Body Count album with Cop Killer on it is a 7 or an 8, even though the music is sometimes a 6. These 2 records are very C tier or lower. And again, like if those unforgivable things on the lyrics that are not only don't hold up, they're not acceptable, they're not forgivable, that make the record even worse. So like I'm not taking that away.
The way I'm going to put this is, the first album created the seeds of a very interesting, a very revolutionary band that changed the face of the world. And the next 2 records just fed into all the people that derided them. So then they come back later and they come back better than ever. And, even though these last 2 albums are unlistenable and I will never return to them, everything that comes after it is fucking amazing. So that's all I got.
That's in a nutshell. I agree with all that. And yeah, again, I think this was a good exercise. At least we got to talk about Body Count and Cop Killer, the album and the single. I think it was important to have that discussion in 2022. I could live without these other 2 records. I definitely love Manslaughter. I love Carnivore. And
Manslaughter, I think,
Bloodlust.
is my favorite personally.
Yeah, I probably would go to Bloodlust myself, and Carnivore is a close second. And Carnivore has Colors and 6 in the morning metal covers, which is full circle to the very beginning of our podcast series. And he's got it right there, and he's got it ready to go with their, incredible album artwork and this humongous army of dudes on the back that looks like Slipknot or Hollywood Undead. Both inspired by Ice-T, by the way. If you didn't think they were, they are. So anyway, yeah, good stuff. I'm glad we did the series. I'm sorry it was such a slog. This is the second worst series beside Quiet Riot for sure. Although maybe actually the Quiet Riot first album is so good, mostly so good that it even outshines this series, and this might be the worst records we've had to listen to.
We're gonna call this series and Quiet Riot equivalents because episode 1 of each was hell yeah, and then it's like, oh god, there's more. Yeah, and you just wish, and you kind of wish there wasn't. But
yeah,
I am gonna say I got nothing more to say.
I think you need to take us home, Daddy.
I will take us home. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Please like, subscribe, rate, praise, insult, whatever. I'm going to apologize again for my behavior today. I have been very sick this week, so I have been in on Grandpa's cough syrup, as anyone from Dumb and Dumber knows precisely what that is by the original star of Dumb and Dumber, who was kicked out for Jeff Fahey. Look it up. But thank you for listening. Please, again, we appreciate everybody's got a podcast. Everybody has a YouTube channel. The fact that you have spent time with us, listening to us talk about a record from 25 years ago is commendable, amazing, and wonderful. As we always say, this is the Glacially Musical Podcast, and it does not play in Peoria.